Happy Friday. Let's hope this works, friends. We're dealing with some live social media, interwebs, updated application drama. But welcome to today's LinkedIn Live. We'd rather be late than tell you we're not happening here today. We do have a number of you on the stream, so bear with us. We're going to figure this out. I'm Rick Vanover, and I'm joined on audio for now by Melissa, Palmer, and Kirsten. Good afternoon, ladies. How are you?
We're good, Rick. How are you?
A little nervous.
We'll be good.
We'll go with headshots here for now. But Kirsten, how are you doing as well?
I'm doing good. It's a beautiful day on this Friday in Columbus, Ohio, so I'm excited to be here.
It is a beautiful day, and good reminder there, Kirsten. So for those of you watching, go ahead and drop in the chat where you are from. We're going to light up the map. We do have our producer in Romania. We've got our other producer in Georgia. New Jersey's illuminated, representing Jersey. Lord have mercy. I almost forgot about her. And then we've got two in the OH, and I hear in the echoes an IO. Awesome. So we're going to be light, fresh, and focused. Well, those don't always agree, but we're going to talk a little bit more beyond backup and replication because, we just had this massive release with V11, and there's more to it. So kind of the carry on of the theme here, we're going to go beyond backup and replication. So let's take a look at what that is. First of all, amping it up to 11, Melissa last week explained the popular culture reference to me, which I'm not an expert upon, but I got it later. But basically, V11 is really delivering our platform to new sources with additional capabilities, over 200 new and enhanced capabilities. But when you have all of these different things, sometimes there's other needs, and monitoring and analytics, orchestration, kind of the higher, raise the roof, lift it up type of stuff. That's where we're going to be talking about a little bit of our time today. Now, the best part is Melissa and Kirsten know this stuff way better than me. And I really like how they've prepared some storylines here for the stuff beyond backup and replication. So I'm going to hand it over in just a minute, but I really want to kind of think about it. It's backup and replication with friends. And, Melissa, how do you kind of talk about this when you introduce, this whole broader picture?
So for those of you who don't know, I am very into cars. So usually when you look at a car and you're like, oh, I want a new car, whatever. If you're into cars, right, the first thing you look at is the engine, right? That's the power. And backup replication is really the engine of the car. And for me, then I start looking at things like transmission and drivetrain and then all the cool bells and whistles and features and like that. And really, Veeam ONE is like that transmission. It's that next really important piece. It's going to, drive the power, all that kind of stuff. And then you add on things like orchestrator and service provider console, and then you kind of have the whole car. Sure, an engine is great by itself, but it's even more powerful and more useful to do work when you add bells and whistles to it, like you would, configure a car for yourself.
That makes perfect sense. And these are some of the bells and whistles that you can walk down the wheel of capabilities of sorts. And, our Veeam ONE product sits very squarely in that monitoring and analytics side of things. Disaster recovery orchestration, a lot of opportunity there. In fact, I just learned a really awesome, I'm scheming up a new plan here for the disaster recovery orchestration product and consuming Veeam as a service. Backup as a service, disaster recovery as a service. I know, Kirsten, you and some others on the team helped out a little bit with launch there, but what can you say a little bit about some of the, the broader pictures there for the as a service bit? We're not going to cover it too far today, but I know you did some work on that.
Yeah, definitely. With Veeam Availability Console, you're able to really be able to manage those agent computers as a service provider, and you're also able to send agents to Cloud Connect and host those backups and replicas in your cloud repository as a service provider, really managing that for your customers. If we continue on through the slides, Veeam has that one thing, and if you know that song by One Direction, One Thing,
that is me and Kirsten's theme song for Veeam ONE. I apologize if people don't like One Direction, but we've got that one thing, right?
Yeah, it's been in my head all morning. I've been thinking
You're welcome, Kirsten.
about that one thing in my head. So Veeam ONE really provides that monitoring and analytics for your environment. It, really provides visibility into your Veeam backup and replication, data protection operations through, even if you're running the Veeam agents, Veeam agent for Windows, Linux, Mac. If you are using the Nutanix Veeam backup product, you can see your data protection operations there, as well as your virtual infrastructure. And it really provides these 5 capabilities over here on the side. So really providing you that monitoring and alerting, being able to optimize resources and see maybe a virtual machine is utilizing its resources, so you can redistribute those accordingly. Capacity planning, helping you plan for the future, whether it comes through backup repositories or even your virtual infrastructure. Veeam ONE can provide you some more information there, as well as intelligent diagnostics and automation, being able to remediate actions automatically and find those common misconfiguration errors on its own.
Yeah, that's a great storyline, Kirsten. And, I guarantee you, this is my little, this is going to be my first tattoo. I love to say that I guarantee you Veeam ONE will tell you something about your environment that you didn't know that you may need to fix. And we had it just yesterday. Kirsten asked me to create a database for her, and I did, and it actually simulated a ransomware scenario. So it's a great piece of information. So we're now going to take a look over at the application. And so we've had a number of you let us know where you are from, and we're going to try to get back to it one more time yet here today. Great stuff. So who do we have? We've got Canada in the house. I didn't go to Tim's this morning, but I probably will this evening, guys. We've got Guadeloupe, we've got Netherlands, Italy, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Sudan, Canada, Spain, Saudi, Newcastle, UK, Ireland, Nicaragua, and France. I had a great vacation in Nicaragua. I think it's the lake there is the 20th largest lake in the world. It was really great there in Nicaragua. A lot of good African representation. Saudi. Thank you all for joining. Really appreciate it. And again, we got to make this green. Every time we try to do the application, we're trying to do more than the previous show. So that's our goal here today. And bear with us. We are working through some live stuff, which is live. But let's carry on with the content here. And, Melissa, as we walk more down Veeam ONE, how can you kind of set up what the new capabilities are with B&R with Veeam ONE?
Oh, that's like my favorite talk track ever. Thank you, Rick. One of my favorite things about Veeam ONE is that when you see one of those new hallmark features in backup and replication, like we saw NAS backup in version 10, we saw integration with public cloud in 10a, and now with version 11, we see CDP. You can almost expect to be able to monitor that protection inside of Veeam ONE, right? Veeam is really great about integrating all of those products into Veeam ONE. So Kirsten, what is your favorite feature of Veeam ONE version 11 here?
I would have to say definitely the visibility into continuous data protection policies. Really making sure that you're meeting your SLAs that you've defined. There's a lot of monitoring capabilities as well as reports that have been added to really provide that visibility and documentation. You're also going to get, like Melissa mentioned, you're also going to get that support for these other Veeam backup and replication features like Veeam Agent for Mac. You'll see some visibility in there. You're going to see an improved user experience. So if you haven't even updated yet to V11, you definitely should, because you'll be in for a real treat. The user experience has definitely been more streamlined and it's easier to use. And then, of course, if you're offering that backup as a service or the disaster recovery as a service, you're going to get that visibility as a service provider as well. So a lot has been added with Veeam ONE V11, and it's all really to enhance the visibility, the monitoring, the alerting, and the usability for the product itself.
Yeah, one thing I'll add before we go to the next slide here is that whenever we kind of announce, like say at Veeam ON, we'll announce the new capabilities. It's kind of a great trigger that Veeam ONE is going to start monitoring it. But I think we need to pivot and introduce somebody. Melissa, who is this?
Yeah, so this is me and Kirsten. It's probably like our best friend. Her name is Michelle. She might be a VMware administrator. She might be the storage administrator. She might be the Veeam administrator. She might be an ops person. She could be just about anything. And the fact of the matter is, when a disaster strikes, poor Michelle in some way, shape, or form is going to have to pick up the pieces of the data center and put it back together. So as we know, if you get hit by one of these or another type of disaster, things are not in fact fine unless you have a plan in place.
Yeah, so like I would think malware and ransomware would be a good one. Fire, flood, and blood, could be others. It's really a mess. But how do we then pivot to solve this problem mysteriously?
In this case, we have the sweet sound of orchestrated, your orchestrated DR with Veeam Disaster Recovery Orchestrator. Takes all those things that are really difficult about DR and streamlines it and fixes it for you. We're talking about one-click failovers, lightning fast DR migrations, because it's powered by Veeam backup and replication under the covers or your supported storage array. Your disaster recovery plans are fully validated and automated, right? Let's say I change my DR plan. It's a matter of clicking update plan, and then we're ready to go with our compliant documentation and even a fully detailed change log in your DR plan, right? So if Rick logged into Orchestrator last night and messed up some of my plans, I would catch that on a daily basis when my plan was emailed to me. It couldn't be more simple and intuitive and easy to use. HTML5 interface, the new Veeam ONE web client looks and feels the same. So we really have a unified feel between all of our backup and replication friends. We, have orchestrated storage failover, adding more support every release. And then the documentation is really great because it will check your environment. It's going to check your RPOs. In the case of CDP, it's also going to make sure you're meeting your SLA. And it will let you know if you're not and why, right? If something goes wrong during one of those DR tests that takes about 30 seconds to run, Orchestrator's going to tell you what you need to do to fix it. It couldn't be simpler.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And this is just not the day. My lights turned off here in my office. So, wow, what an interesting one. So we did have a question from Edris. Sorry, I messed up the name. And then, of course, I said, yeah, okay, I'll pluck out the question. And here it is. Oh, that's funny you asked that, Edris. Edris's question is, what is Veeam ONE's database size out of the box? I'm trying to gauge if we need a SQL Server license or if I'm good with SQL Server Express. Edris, we just sorted this out in the lab yesterday, and it actually showed up on the catch of the day. But Kirsten, you want to field some of the resources and stuff we have to address that?
Sure. So out of the box, it comes with a SQL Express. And normally, if you're working with a smaller environment, that's a great option available to you. If you're working with something a little bit bigger, I would say our environment, I think we just cut a license for like 1,000 workloads. So if you're looking for something a little bit bigger, you definitely want to have a bigger SQL database that can handle that load, because once the SQL database gets filled up, you're going to see some issues with Veeam ONE and the monitoring capabilities there. It's not going to work as good as it should be. So for smaller environments, I would definitely say stick with the SQL Express. Makes it easier. It comes with Veeam ONE. For the larger environment, you can definitely use a SQL version that's bigger than that. And you don't have to have a designated SQL server. You just need a designated database to be able to connect to Veeam ONE. So.
Yeah, exactly. And if you decide you start with Express and you're like, oh, I'm running out of space, because Veeam ONE will tell you that, right? It'll tell you, hey, you're running out of your space in your database. You might want to do something. It's super easy to migrate to an external SQL server, and we have everything on the Help Center that will help you do that, basically. Super easy.
Yeah. There's a Help Center document specifically for Veeam ONE for large environments, which is what I'd want to draw the attention to. And we have another question from Titus. He says, should we expect orchestration of Hyper-V or AHV soon? Good question, Titus. Now, what we need to have happen is the Sure replica capability show up for Hyper-V. That would preclude that we would entertain it for such, but not something we've announced. Something to watch. So, moving swiftly along, Kirsten, tell us about your favorite Veeam ONE capability. CDP.
Well, yeah. So this, just like CDP has been added into Veeam ONE to really provide that monitoring, it's also integrated with Veeam Disaster Recovery Orchestrator, so you can make CDP replica plans. I know Melissa loves talking about the orchestrator, so go ahead and take this one away.
Yeah, so the big feature in Orchestrator 4 is, of course, support for CDP replica plans. Just a orchestrator history lesson real quick. Version 1 was regular Veeam replicas. Version 2 was restore from Veeam backup. We started introducing storage integration, storage snapshot integration, and replication integration in version 3. And version 4 is all about CDP, right? You've noticed that trend in the backup and replication engine, and you've seen it appear in Veeam ONE and, of course, Orchestrator. So really simple to make an orchestration plan for CDP. If you've done it for any other type, you're ready to go. It's a simple, like about 10 to 12 step wizard that will walk you through creating your plan. We're talking about RPOs measured in seconds, right? Because this is CDP and it's amazing. And then again, you're going to get all that reporting that you would have gotten for any other orchestration plan, specifically for your CDP plan as well. So it'll help keep you compliant. You'll know what's going on in your environment. And with our readiness check for CDP replica plans, we're always going to be looking at your RPO and in addition, your SLA for CDP, right? So you'll always know that you're ready to fail over pretty much at any second.
Hey, that's great to know. And the CDP engine, just having it in BNR is one thing, but then as we look at the orchestrator next release, this will be it'll be gigantic. I can't wait to have this in the market. So what can we do with this information? BBFs. Now, I did not make up this phrase.
Kirsten and I might be BBFs, best backup friends. So who are Veeam backup and replication's best friends, right? So if you add Veeam ONE to backup and replication, you have Veeam Availability Suite or VAS, which we've talked about at length. You've probably heard that term. And then we also have something new called the DR pack, which we introduced, and that adds orchestrator to your BNR or to your Veeam Availability Suite. So really, the great part about this is A, it's simple to consume, but B, when you bundle all three products together, there really is a significant price savings when it comes to our friends Veeam ONE and Orchestrator. So again, this is super simple to confuse, protect your whole environment. I like to say protect with backup and replication, detect issues with that protection or issues in your environment with Veeam ONE, and then recover with Orchestrator. So we really kind of have you throughout the whole data management lifecycle.
Yeah, good stuff. And I think consuming these different, it's got to be simple. 2 modes of consumption that have the base BNR and Veeam ONE, and then the DR pack to really go to that next level. Great, great, great stuff. And we've had a lot of you let us know where you are from, and we got some breaking news. We have a record set. As weird as we had to start today because we had the late start, let's switch over to the application. And the breaking news I want to say is, like, first of all, barely visible, we got Hawaii. Aloha from Hawaii. First time that we've had Hawaii.
Mahalo for tuning in.
Yes, yes. And we've got North Carolina, California. Thank you so much. And we also have over in the Europe persuasion, we had a check-in from Turkey. We had Portugal, Spain, a couple others, UK filling it out, Netherlands. Yes, good stuff. So thank you so much. Philippines. Oh, wow. Nothing better to do this time of night than watch the Rick, Melissa, and Kirsten show. So really appreciate that. Speaking of which, next week, we have a show with Dave and Jason, the executive decision maker themed show. Always a good one to tune into. But no, I think I could go for some Hawaii right about now. That sounds actually quite nice. So let's bring it home. We've got one more thing we want to talk about, and Kirsten started with that. So Kirsten, I want to bring it back. Tell us a little bit about some of the special stuff with the service provider console.
Yeah, so we don't want to forget about our service providers because they're a big part of Veeam and a big part of everybody. So we did announce Veeam Service Provider Console version 5, and it came with these 5 major features. So you're going to get that support for Veeam Agent for Linux and Mac, a lot of other things as well. The production-ready RESTful API, I know everybody's excited about that, as long as 45 other enhancements and updates. So really being able to manage your endpoints and the backup environments through the console, really enabling our service providers to make sure that they're protecting their customers and clients. So don't forget about Veeam Service Provider Console version 5. It's still there.
And the other thing to note is that, if you're an enterprise with remote workers and stuff, and it sounds familiar nowadays, you can use the service provider console. It's not only for service providers. It's really that model of, managing remote resources. So definitely want to check that out. So let's bring it home. And again, sorry for the late start. Sorry for the choppiness. We've had a day of sorts trying to get going here. We're going to do it on this platform. We're going to do it on that platform. Here, we're going to do it on this platform. But we did have one more question from Edris. Is it still recommended to install Veeam ONE on another server for smaller environments, or can we install it on the backup server? So I'm going to answer that, my view, and then Melissa and Kirsten, if you each have your own opinion, jump in. Now, Edris, one thing to remember is it can be on a PC. Okay, so what I mean by that is I would want back, if you're being specific on how many dedicated quote unquote servers you have, I would much rather have the backup server dedicated. When it comes to Veeam ONE, which is not as critical to your environment as, say, backup and recovery, if you're entertaining it that way, maybe the PC or a power workstation would be a candidate for it as well. Melissa, what do you think to Edris's question?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you there. I am a big fan of letting backup and replication be backup and replication. I actually am also a huge fan of Enterprise Manager, and for the first time today, I built a standalone Enterprise Manager server instead of just running it on top of my backup and replication server. You can totally do that, but I just wanted to divide it out because it's something I've been meaning to do, and I'm doing all this lab maintenance thanks to V11.
Kirsten, what's your take on that?
I would say I agree with both of you, to be honest. I would keep it a designated server, but like you can use a PC like Rick mentioned as well. So say you want to build, you want to be able to access all your Veeam environment from like one virtual machine. You could say install the Veeam ONE client and web server on one machine, and then install the Veeam backup and replication console on that same machine. So you don't necessarily even have to switch machines if you don't want to. You still have your designated backup server, and then you have your designated Veeam ONE server, which could be an alternative, especially if that's one of the reasons why
I like that. Yeah, that's a good point. And
that's what we do in the lab. I remote to others. Yeah. Yeah, so great feedback. There's a lot of flexibility, and actually all the products, and Edris is asking about smaller environments, believe it or not, even backup and replication can go on non-server OSs. So Windows 10, an updated 8. I don't remember if 7 is on the list, but desktop OSs are supported also. And yeah, Edwin says, when you have a special day, isn't that what Veeam is for? Yeah, that's a good point. You want to make sure the data comes back, and we actually had to restore something yesterday, so funny you say that. But no, hey, great comments here. We got a couple of links we'll share up here real quick. One is, we really share a lot about some of the other resources. One is DR Test Tuesday, and the other is Veeam ONE Catch of the Day. It's our learning journey, really. I'll be transparent. I kind of told myself whenever ago that on Veeam ONE, I want to learn a little bit more, but share it. So hashtag Veeam ONE Catch of the Day and DR Test Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. And if there's something that you want to see, camp onto those hashtags and tweet us. We follow them, and we'll create a little video of whatever you're looking for.
Indeed. Sometimes we need ideas, content, the questions you have here, the engagement on social will be really good. And wow, don't let your backup and replication get lonely. I didn't see that one. That's not the side deck. So
yeah, maybe Kirsten and I might have put that in, but don't let backup and replication get lonely, right? There's Veeam ONE and Orchestrator to keep it company, but at the end of the day, it's making your life easier as an administrator, architect, operations person, whatever you might be doing. So again, with those add-on, the way we have everything structured with the add-ons, with VAS or the DR pack, it makes them really simple and really cost-effective to consume all three of these solutions as well.
Outstanding. Well, hey, Melissa, thank you so much for sharing here today. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, Rick.
And Kirsten, great job as always. Thank you as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again.
Well, on behalf of the Veeam Global Marketing team, our producer in Atlanta, and our social media support, Alina, really hope everyone has a great weekend, and a big thanks to everyone attending. Join us Monday for the Dave and Jason show, and that concludes today's stream.